and welcome back to Beginner English, the podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mike. Welcome to all our new listeners, and welcome back to our regular friends. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm doing great, Mike. And I'm really excited about today's topic because I know it's something that many English learners struggle with.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Today we're talking about how to think fast, speak smart in English. And Sarah, I have to tell you, when I was learning Spanish, I had the same problem. My brain would go make wishing sound, completely blank.
That wishing sound is perfect, Mike. That's exactly what happens to so many learners. They know the grammar, they know the words, but when someone asks them a question, whoosh, nothing comes out.
Exactly. But the good news is, and this is why I love today's episode, thinking fast and speaking smart in English is actually a skill you can learn and practice. It's like learning to ride a bicycle.
That's a great comparison. At first, you fall off the bicycle many times, but with practice, it becomes automatic. Your brain doesn't have to think, move left leg, move right leg. You just ride.
Perfect. So today we're going to give you practical, step-by-step methods to train your brain to think faster in English. We'll share tips, useful phrases, exercises you can do at home, and even some conversation practice.
And most importantly, we want you to have fun while learning. Mike and I will share some funny stories from our own language learning experiences.
Oh, I have some embarrassing stories. Laughs. But first, let's talk about why thinking fast in English feels so difficult for many learners.
So, Mike, from your experience teaching English and learning other languages, why do you think students struggle with quick thinking in English?
Well, Sarah, I think there are three main reasons. First, when we speak our native language, we don't translate. We just speak. But when learning English, many students translate from their first language to English in their head.
Yes, and that translation process takes time. It's like having a very slow computer. Makes slow computer sounds. Beep, 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 processing.
Laughs. Exactly. The second reason is fear. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes, so they spend too much time trying to make the perfect sentence.
Oh, this is so true. I remember when I was learning French, I would think, is this grammar correct? Is this word right? Will people understand me? And while I'm thinking all these questions, the conversation moves on without me.
Yes, and the third reason is that many learners study English like they're preparing for a written test. They focus on grammar rules and vocabulary lists, but they don't practice quick, natural conversation.
That's a really important point, Mike. In real conversation, we don't have time to think about grammar rules. We need to develop what I call English instinct.
English instinct, I love that phrase. Can you explain what you mean?
Sure. English instinct means that you can feel what sounds right even if you can't explain the grammar rule. For example, we say, I'm interested in movies, not I'm interested for movies. A student with English instinct will choose in because it sounds right, not because they remember a grammar rule.
Perfect example. And listeners, don't worry if you don't have this instinct yet. Today, we're going to show you exactly how to develop it.
Before we continue, let me ask our listeners a question. Have you ever been in a situation where someone asked you something in English and you knew the answer, but you couldn't say it quickly enough?
I bet many of you are thinking, yes, that happens to me all the time, and that's completely normal. Even I have this problem sometimes when I'm speaking Spanish or German.
The good news is that we can fix this problem. But first, we need to understand something important. Thinking fast in English is not about speaking faster. It's about responding naturally and confidently.
Exactly, Sarah. When we say think fast, we don't mean talk like this, speaks very quickly and unclearly. We mean respond smoothly and naturally like this, speaks at my own pace. That's an interesting question. Let me think about it for a moment.
Perfect. Even that response, that's an interesting question. Let me think about it for a moment. Is thinking fast. You're not standing there silent. You're engaging with the person while giving yourself time to think.
And that brings us to our first practical tip.
Our first step to thinking fast in English is building confidence. Mike, why do you think confidence is so important?
Well, Sarah, confidence is like the engine of a car. Without confidence, all the grammar knowledge and vocabulary in the world won't help you speak naturally.
That's a great analogy. I always tell my students, perfect grammar with no confidence equals no communication. Good enough grammar with confidence equals great communication.
Exactly. So how do we build this confidence? First, we need to change our mindset about mistakes.
Oh, this is crucial. Many learners think making mistakes is terrible, but actually, making mistakes means you're trying, you're practicing, you're learning.
I have a funny story about this. When I was learning Spanish, I once asked for jabón, soap, instead of jamón, ham, in a restaurant. The waiter looked very confused.
Oh no! So you asked for soap for dinner?
Yes. But you know what? The waiter and I had a great laugh about it. He helped me understand the difference, and I never forgot those words again. That mistake actually helped me learn.
That's perfect. Mistakes are not failures, they're learning opportunities. And here's something interesting. Native English speakers make mistakes too.
Absolutely. I sometimes say, I seen instead of I saw, or I forget words in the middle of sentences. The difference is I don't stop talking. I just say, ooh, what's that word? Or, you know what I mean.
Great point. So our first confidence building tip is accept that mistakes are normal and helpful. Repeat after me, listeners. Mistakes help me learn.
Our second confidence tip is start with easy conversations. Don't try to discuss philosophy or politics on your first day. Begin with simple, comfortable topics.
Yes, practice with topics like weather, food, hobbies, or daily routines. For example, you can practice saying, I like coffee in the morning, or the weather is nice today, or I enjoy watching movies on weekends.
These simple sentences might seem boring, but they're actually very important. They help you build what I call conversation confidence.
Conversation confidence, another great phrase, Mike. The more comfortable you feel with easy topics, the more confident you'll become with difficult topics.
Exactly. It's like learning to swim. You start in shallow water, then gradually move to deeper water. You don't jump into the ocean on your first day.
That would be scary. Now, our third confidence tip is prepare for common questions. Mike, can you explain this?
Sure. There are certain questions that people ask all the time in English conversations. Questions like, how are you? What do you do for work? Where are you from? What are your hobbies?
Right. If you prepare simple, natural answers to these common questions, you'll feel much more confident in conversations. You won't have to think from zero every time.
Let's practice some right now. Sarah, where are you from?
I'm from California. I grew up in a small town near San Francisco. What about you, Mike?
I'm originally from Texas, but I've lived in New York for about 5 years now. I really love the energy of the city.
Perfect. Did you hear how natural that sounded, listeners? We didn't just say, I'm from California, and stop. We added small details that make the conversation more interesting and natural.
Yes, instead of just, I'm from Texas, I said, I'm originally from Texas, but I've lived in New York for about 5 years now. The extra information makes the conversation flow better.
Let's give our listeners some conversation starters they can prepare. Mike, what would you suggest?
Great idea. Here are some simple answers you can prepare. For, how are you? I'm doing well, thanks. How about you? Pretty good. Just finished work. And you? Great. I just had a nice cup of coffee.
Love those. Here are some for what do you do? I work in an office downtown. I'm a student. I study business. I'm a teacher. I love working with kids.
And for hobbies, I enjoy reading and watching movies. I like cooking and trying new restaurants. I love playing soccer on weekends.
Perfect! Notice how all these answers are simple but complete. They give information and often ask a question back like, how about you? Or, and you?
That's a really important point, Sarah. Good conversation is like playing tennis. You hit the ball, then the other person hits it back to you.
Exactly. If someone asks, "How are you?" and you just say, "Fine," you're not hitting the ball back. The conversation dies.
But if you say, "I'm doing well, thanks. Just got back from a nice walk. How about you?" Now you're playing tennis. The conversation continues.
Listeners, I want you to try this exercise at home. Write down the answers to these 5 common questions. How are you? Where are you from? What do you do? What are your hobbies? And how was your day?
Practice saying your answers out loud until they feel natural. This is not about memorizing exactly. It's about having a starting point so your brain doesn't go blank.
And remember, confidence comes from practice, not perfection. The more you practice these simple conversations, the more confident you'll become with harder conversations.
All right, Sarah, now that we've talked about building confidence, let's move to our next section. Useful phrases for quick responses.
Yes, this is one of my favorite topics because these phrases are like magic words. They help you respond quickly while giving your brain time to think of what to say next.
I like to call them thinking time phrases. Instead of standing there silently when someone asks you a question, you can use these phrases to stay in the conversation while organizing your thoughts.
Perfect name. Let's start with the most useful ones. Mike, what's your favorite thinking time phrase?
I love saying, "That's a great question." It works for almost any question, and it gives me a few seconds to think. Plus, it makes the other person feel good.
That's brilliant. It's positive, natural, and practical. Here's another one I use all the time. Let me think about that for a moment. It's honest and gives you time.
Oh, and here's one that's super useful. You know what? It's like a conversation starter that gives you time to organize your thoughts. For example, "You know what? I think you're absolutely right about that."
Love it. And how about actually? It's perfect when you want to add information or give a different perspective. Like, "Actually, I had a similar experience last week."
Yes, these little words are so powerful. Let me share some more thinking time phrases with our listeners. When you need time to think, let me see. Well, I guess, I suppose, to be honest.
Those are excellent. And here are some phrases for when you want to ask for clarification. "What do you mean exactly? Could you say that again? I'm not sure I understand. Can you give me an example?"
Oh, those are so important. Asking for clarification is not showing weakness. It's showing that you want to understand and communicate well.
Absolutely. And here's something interesting, Mike. Even native English speakers use these phrases all the time. It's not just for English learners.
You're so right. Yesterday, my friend asked me about quantum physics. Don't ask me why. And I said, "Wow, that's a tough question. To be honest, I don't know much about that topic."
Quantum physics. That would make anyone need thinking time phrases. But you handled it perfectly. You were honest, you stayed engaged in the conversation, and you didn't feel embarrassed about not knowing.
Exactly. And that brings us to another category of useful phrases. Phrases for when you don't know something.
Oh, yes. Many learners think they have to know everything, but actually saying "I don't know" in a natural way is a very useful skill.
Here are some natural ways to say you don't know. "I'm not really sure about that. That's not really my area. I haven't thought about that before. I don't have much experience with that."
Those sound so much more natural than just "I don't know," don't they? And here are some phrases for when you want to change the subject. Speaking of that reminds me, by the way, on a different note.
Perfect. These are really helpful when the conversation goes to a topic you're not comfortable discussing in English.
Now, let's talk about agreement and disagreement phrases. These are super important for thinking fast because they help you respond immediately while you're forming your complete thoughts.
Great point. For agreeing, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I was thinking. You're totally right.
And for disagreeing politely, I see what you mean, but that's interesting. However, I understand your point, but I think I have a slightly different view.
Notice how these disagreement phrases are gentle and respectful? In English conversation, we don't just say, "You're wrong." We soften our disagreement.
Exactly. It's about being diplomatic. You can disagree with someone's idea while still being friendly and respectful.
Let's practice some of these phrases with a quick conversation, Sarah. I'll ask you about, what do you think about working from home?
That's a great question. You know what? I think it has both advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, you save time on commuting. On the other hand, it can be lonely sometimes. What's your experience with it?
I see what you mean about the loneliness. Actually, I found that working from home improved my work-life balance, but I do miss the social interaction with colleagues.
Perfect. Did everyone hear how we used those phrases naturally? I said, "That's a great question," and "You know what?" And Mike said, "Actually," and "I see what you mean."
And the conversation flowed smoothly because we had these tools ready to use.
Listeners, I want to give you a homework assignment. Choose 3 thinking time phrases from today's lesson and practice using them in conversations this week. Don't try to use all of them, just pick 3 that feel comfortable to you.
Great advice. It's better to use 3 phrases naturally than to try to remember 20 phrases and feel confused.
And remember, these phrases are not about being perfect. They're about staying connected to the conversation while your brain catches up with your mouth.
Now we're getting to one of the most powerful techniques for thinking fast in English, listening and shadowing exercises.
Oh, Mike, I'm so excited about this section. Shadowing is like a secret weapon for English learners. It sounds mysterious, but it's actually quite simple.
It does sound mysterious. For our listeners who haven't heard of shadowing before, let me explain. Shadowing means listening to English and trying to repeat what you hear at the same time, like an echo.
Yes, it's like being someone's shadow. When they move, you move. When they speak, you speak. You try to copy their rhythm, their pronunciation, and their intonation.
The amazing thing about shadowing is that it trains your brain to process English faster. Instead of translate, think, speak, you start to go directly from hear, speak.
That's exactly right. It helps you develop that English instinct we talked about earlier. Your brain starts to recognize English patterns automatically.
I have to share a funny story about when I first learned about shadowing. I was learning Spanish, and my teacher told me to try it. So I'm walking around my apartment, listening to Spanish podcasts and repeating everything. My neighbor thought I was talking to myself.
Oh, no. That's hilarious. Did you explain what you were doing?
Eventually, yes, and actually she became interested in learning English, so I taught her the shadowing technique too. Now we both walk around talking to ourselves.
That's wonderful. So let's teach our listeners how to do shadowing exercises effectively. Mike, where should beginners start?
Great question. Beginners should start with slow, clear content. I recommend news reports for English learners, educational podcasts like ours, audiobooks for children or young adults, TV shows with subtitles.
Yes, and here's something important. Don't choose content that's too difficult. If you can only understand 30% of what you hear, it's too hard for shadowing.
Absolutely. You want to understand at least 70% of the content. The goal is not to learn new words, it's to practice the rhythm and flow of English.
Let me walk everyone through the shadowing process step by step. Step 1. Listen to a short piece of audio, maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute. Step 2. Listen again and try to understand the main ideas. Step 3. Now play it again and try to repeat what you hear, even if you can't say every word perfectly. Step 4. Don't worry about understanding everything. Focus on copying the sound and rhythm.
That's perfect, Sarah. And here's a really important point. You don't need to understand every single word to benefit from shadowing. You're training your mouth and your brain to work together in English.
Exactly. Think of it like learning to dance. When you first learn a dance, you don't think about every single step. You feel the music and try to move with it.
Great analogy. And just like dancing, shadowing gets easier with practice. At first, you might feel clumsy or slow. That's completely normal.
Now, let's talk about different types of shadowing. There's complete shadowing, where you try to repeat everything, and there's selective shadowing, where you focus on certain parts.
I love selective shadowing for beginners. You can focus on just the main words, or just the questions, or just the short sentences.
Yes, for example, if you're listening to a conversation and you hear, "I went to the store yesterday to buy some groceries for my family," you might just shadow, "I went, store, yesterday, buy groceries, family."
Perfect example. You're getting the key information and the rhythm without stressing about every little word.
Now, let's try a mini shadowing exercise right here in our podcast. Mike, can you say a simple sentence slowly and our listeners can try to shadow you?
Sure. Listeners, try to repeat this sentence after me at the same time if possible. Learning English is fun and rewarding.
How did that feel, everyone? Let's try another one. This time I'll say it. Practice makes progress, not perfection.
Great. Now, let's try a short conversation. I'll be person A, Sarah will be person B, and listeners can shadow both of us. Hi, how was your weekend?
It was really nice. I went hiking with some friends.
That sounds wonderful. I love hiking too.
How did everyone do? Remember, the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to train your brain and mouth to work together in English.
And here's a fun variation, emotion shadowing. Try to copy not just the words, but the emotion too. Sarah, let's demonstrate with the same conversation, but this time you sound really excited about hiking.
It was really nice. I went hiking with some friends. It was absolutely beautiful.
Perfect. Did everyone hear how the emotion changed the rhythm and intonation? When you shadow with emotion, you learn how feelings affect English pronunciation.
That's such an important point, Mike. English isn't just words, it's music, emotion, and personality all together.
Now, let's talk about tools and resources for shadowing practice. What do you recommend, Sarah?
Well, YouTube is fantastic because you can slow down the speed. Start at 0.75 speed, then work up to normal speed, then maybe even try 1.25 speed for a challenge.
Yes, and podcasts are great because you can listen while walking, exercising, or doing housework. You're multitasking your English practice.
Here are some specific recommendations for our listeners. For A1 to A2 learners, simple English conversations on YouTube, children's audiobooks, basic news in slow English, English learning podcasts like ours. For B1 to B2 learners, TED Talks, start with shorter ones, movie scenes with subtitles, news podcasts, popular TV shows.
And here's a pro tip. Record yourself doing shadowing exercises. Play the original, then play your version. You'll be surprised how much you improve over time.
That's brilliant. It's like having your own personal English coach. You can hear where you need to improve.
Just be patient with yourself. I remember when I started shadowing in Spanish, I sounded like a robot. But after a few weeks, I started to sound more natural.
And that brings us to an important point about consistency. Shadowing for 10 minutes every day is much better than shadowing for 2 hours once a week.
Absolutely. Your brain needs regular practice to build these new English patterns. It's like going to the gym. Regular short workouts are better than occasional long ones.
Before we move to our next section, let me give everyone a challenge. Find one piece of English content that you enjoy, maybe a favorite movie scene or a song, and practice shadowing it for 1 week.
Great challenge. And remember, the goal is not to sound exactly like a native speaker. The goal is to sound more natural and confident than yesterday.
All right, everyone, now we're getting to my absolute favorite part. Practical exercises you can do at home to improve your thinking speed and speaking confidence.
I love this section too, because these exercises are free, fun, and you can do them anytime. No expensive courses, no special equipment, just you and your motivation.
Exactly. And the best part is that many of these exercises are actually enjoyable. Learning English doesn't have to feel like homework all the time.
So true. Let's start with my favorite exercise, mirror conversations. Sarah, have you tried this one?
Oh, yes. It sounds silly at first, but it's incredibly effective. Mike, can you explain how it works?
Sure. You stand in front of a mirror and have conversations with yourself. You play both people in the conversation. For example, you ask yourself, "How was your day?" And then you answer yourself.
I know it sounds crazy, but there's actually science behind this. When you see yourself speaking, your brain connects your mouth movements with the sounds you're making. It helps you remember pronunciation better.
And there's no pressure. The person in the mirror, which is you, will never judge you for making mistakes. It's a safe space to practice.
Here's how to do mirror conversations effectively. Step 1, choose a simple topic, like describing your day. Step 2, look at yourself in the mirror and start talking. Step 3, if you make a mistake, don't stop, just keep going. Step 4, try to maintain eye contact with yourself. It builds confidence. Step 5, practice for just 2 to 3 minutes at first, then gradually increase.
I have a funny story about mirror conversations. When I was learning German, I would practice ordering food in restaurants while looking in my bathroom mirror. One day, my roommate walked in and thought I was having a breakdown.
Oh no, what did you tell them?
I explained what I was doing. You know what? He started doing it too for his French practice. Now we both talk to ourselves in the bathroom.
That's wonderful. It shows that even native speakers can benefit from practicing other languages this way.
All right, let's move to our second exercise, daily commentary. This is where you narrate your daily activities in English.
Yes, this is like being your own personal documentary filmmaker. As you go through your day, you describe what you're doing in English.
For example, while making breakfast, you might say, "Now I'm making coffee. I'm adding 2 spoons of sugar. The coffee smells really good today."
Or while getting dressed, I am choosing what to wear today. It's cold outside, so I think I'll wear my warm sweater. This blue sweater is my favorite.
The brilliant thing about daily commentary is that you're practicing English with vocabulary you actually use in real life. You're not learning about abstract topics, you're learning about your life.
And you can do it silently in your head if you're in public or out loud when you're alone. It's very flexible.
Here's our third exercise. Question-response training. You write down common questions on pieces of paper, put them in a box, and then pick one randomly and answer immediately.
Ooh, I like this. It's like a game show in your living room. What kinds of questions should people include, Mike?
Great question. Here are some examples. What did you do last weekend? Describe your best friend. What's your favorite food and why? If you could travel anywhere, where would you go? What makes you happy?
Those are perfect. And the key is that you have to answer immediately. No thinking for 5 minutes. Just pick the paper and start talking, even if your answer isn't perfect.
Exactly. The goal is to train your brain to start speaking quickly, even if you're not sure what you're going to say next.
This exercise is especially good for people who freeze up in conversations. It teaches you that starting to speak is more important than having a perfect answer.
Now let's talk about phone English practice. You call a business, maybe a restaurant or a store, and ask simple questions in English.
Wait, Mike, I want to be careful here. We should probably suggest calling businesses that are designed to help customers and being respectful of their time.
You're absolutely right, Sarah. I should clarify. Call businesses with customer service lines, ask genuine questions, and always be polite. For example, you might call a restaurant and ask, "What time do you close today?" Or, "Do you have vegetarian options?"
Yes, and this works especially well in English-speaking countries. If you're not in an English-speaking country, you could practice with international hotels or airlines that use English.
The reason phone practice is so valuable is that you can't use body language or gestures. You have to rely completely on your speaking and listening skills.
Plus, you never know what the person on the other end will say, so you're practicing real, unpredictable conversation.
Here's another fun exercise. English TV show conversations. You watch a TV show, but you pause after one character speaks and you respond as if you're the other character.
Oh, that's creative. So if character A says, "What did you do today?" you pause the show and answer as character B before hearing what character B actually says.
Exactly. Then you can play the show and hear how the real character responded. Sometimes your answer will be completely different, and that's totally fine.
This exercise is great because TV show conversations are natural and realistic. You're practicing with real English, not textbook English.
Now let's talk about English voice messages. You send voice messages to yourself on your phone, describing your day, your thoughts, or your plans.
I love this idea. It's like keeping an English diary, but with speaking instead of writing. Plus, you can listen to your old messages and hear your progress.
Yes, and you can send voice messages to English-speaking friends if you have them. Many people are happy to help language learners practice.
That's wonderful. And even if you don't have English-speaking friends, you can join online language exchange groups where people practice together.
Let's talk about speed thinking challenges. Set a timer for 30 seconds and talk about a random topic without stopping.
This sounds scary, but it's actually really helpful. The timer pressure forces your brain to keep talking even when you're not sure what to say next.
And it teaches you to be okay with imperfect sentences. Sometimes you'll say, or repeat yourself, and that's completely normal in real conversation.
Here are some good topics for speed thinking. Your morning routine, your hometown, your favorite season, what you did yesterday, your dreams for the future.
Start with 30 seconds, then work up to 1 minute, then 2 minutes. It gets easier with practice.
Our final exercise is English reaction practice. You watch English videos, news, vlogs, interviews, and practice reacting out loud.
So if someone in the video says something surprising, you might say, "Wow, I didn't know that," or "That's really interesting."
Or if they ask a question to the camera, you answer it. Many YouTubers ask questions like, "What do you think about this?" And you can practice answering.
This helps you develop natural English reactions. In real conversations, we don't just answer questions, we react to what people say.
Before we move on, let me give everyone a weekly practice schedule. You don't have to do all of these exercises every day. That would be overwhelming.
Great idea. How about this schedule? Monday, mirror conversations, 5 minutes. Tuesday, daily commentary while cooking dinner. Wednesday, question-response training, 10 minutes. Thursday, speed thinking challenges, 3 topics, 1 minute each. Friday, English TV show conversations, 1 episode. Saturday, voice message practice. Sunday, rest day or review your progress.
Perfect. And remember, these are suggestions. Choose the exercises that feel fun and manageable for you. The best exercise is the one you actually do consistently.
And don't feel bad if you skip a day or make mistakes. Progress is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent.
Now we're getting to one of the most exciting parts of today's episode, real conversation examples where you can practice thinking fast and speaking smart.
I'm excited too, Sarah. We're going to act out different scenarios, and our listeners can practice responding along with us. Think of it as conversation training wheels.
That's a perfect analogy. We'll start with easy conversations and gradually make them more challenging. And listeners, don't just listen passively. Actually speak along with us.
Yes, pause the podcast if you need time to think of your answer, then play it again. This is your safe practice space.
Let's start with scenario 1, meeting someone new. This is probably the most common situation where people need to think fast in English.
Perfect. I'll be Alex, and Sarah will be Jamie. We're meeting at a coffee shop. Listen to how we use the phrases we learned earlier in the episode. Alex sits down. "Hi there. I don't think we've met. I'm Alex."
Oh, hi, Alex. Nice to meet you. I'm Jamie. Are you new here? I haven't seen you at this coffee shop before.
Actually, yes. I just moved to the neighborhood last week. I'm still discovering all the local places. This coffee smells amazing, by the way.
Welcome to the neighborhood. You're going to love it here. What brought you to this area?
Well, I got a new job downtown, and I wanted to find a place with a shorter commute. You know what? It was the best decision I've made this year.
Okay, let's pause there. Did everyone notice how we used our thinking time phrases? Mike said, "Actually, yes," and "you know what?" I said, "well," to give myself time to think.
And notice how we kept the conversation flowing by asking follow-up questions and making comments. Sarah asked, "What brought you to this area?" And I commented on the coffee smell.
Now, listeners, let's practice. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Mike. Ready? What brought you to this area? Take a moment to answer out loud.
Great. Now, let's try scenario 2. Talking about weekend plans. This is another super common conversation topic.
I'll start this one. Mike, what are you up to this weekend?
That's a great question. Let me think. I'm planning to visit the art museum on Saturday. I heard they have a new exhibition about modern photography. What about you? Any exciting plans?
Actually, I'm thinking about going hiking if the weather stays nice. I love being outdoors on weekends. Have you ever been to the trails near the lake?
I don't think I have. That sounds really nice, though. Is it good for beginners? I'm not exactly what you'd call an experienced hiker.
Oh, absolutely. There are some really easy trails that are perfect for beginners. Actually, if you're interested, I could show you around sometime.
That sounds wonderful. I love that.
Let's analyze that conversation. Did everyone hear Mike say, "That's a great question. Let me think." And, I don't think I have. These gave him time to organize his thoughts.
And Sarah used actually twice to add information smoothly. These little words make such a big difference in sounding natural.
Now, listeners, let's practice. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Mike. Ready? What are you up to this weekend? Take a moment to answer out loud.
Great job, everyone. Let's try something a little more challenging. Scenario 3, dealing with a difficult question. Sometimes people ask questions that are hard to answer quickly.
This is so important, Mike. Many learners panic when they get a question they weren't expecting, but we can practice staying calm and responding naturally.
I'll ask Sarah a challenging question, and she'll show us how to handle it gracefully. Sarah, what do you think is the biggest problem facing the world today?
Wow, that's a really tough question. To be honest, I think there are so many serious issues that it's hard to pick just one. I suppose, climate change affects everyone on the planet, so that might be the most urgent, but I'm definitely not an expert on this topic. What's your take on it?
Perfect response, Sarah. You didn't pretend to be an expert, but you still engaged with the question thoughtfully.
Exactly. I used, "Wow, that's a really tough question," to buy myself time, then, "to be honest," and "I suppose," to show I was thinking it through, and I ended by asking Mike's opinion.
This is so important. You don't have to have perfect answers to difficult questions. You just need to respond naturally and honestly.
Let's try another challenging scenario. Scenario 4, when you don't understand something. Mike, I'll say something confusing, and you show how to handle it. So, I was thinking we could leverage our synergies to optimize the workflow paradigm for maximum stakeholder engagement.
Wow, Sarah, I'm not sure I follow all of that. Could you explain what you mean in simpler terms, especially that part about leveraging synergies?
Of course. I was just using business jargon to sound fancy. What I meant was, we could work together to make our process better for everyone involved.
That makes a lot more sense. Thanks for clarifying.
Perfect demonstration, Mike. You didn't pretend to understand. You asked for clarification in a friendly way.
And notice that I wasn't embarrassed about not understanding. Asking for clarification shows you're engaged in the conversation, not confused or stupid.
Now, let's try scenario 5, changing the subject. Sometimes conversations go to topics you're not comfortable discussing in English.
This is really practical, Sarah. I'll bring up a complicated topic, and you show how to redirect naturally. So, what do you think about the recent changes in the international tax policy for multinational corporations?
You know, that's not really my area of expertise. I don't know much about tax policy. Speaking of international topics, though, have you been following the news about the space program? I saw they launched another satellite last week.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that too. It's amazing how advanced space technology has become.
Perfect. The conversation continued smoothly because I was honest about not knowing the topic. Then I found a connection to something I could discuss.
The key phrase there was speaking of international topics, though. It created a bridge to a new subject without being awkward.
Now let's practice one more scenario. Scenario 6, expressing opinions diplomatically. This is especially important in workplace or social situations.
I'll give an opinion, and Sarah will disagree politely. Ready? I think the best way to learn English is to focus on grammar rules first, then worry about speaking later.
That's interesting, Mike. I can see why grammar might seem important to start with. However, I have a slightly different view. From my experience, I think speaking practice should happen from day one, even with basic grammar. What made you feel that grammar should come first?
You make a good point. I guess I was thinking about my own learning style, but maybe different approaches work for different people.
Exactly. And that's a perfect example of diplomatic disagreement. I said, that's interesting, and I can see why, before presenting my different view.
And when Sarah disagreed with me, I didn't feel attacked or defensive. Her approach made me want to continue the conversation and even reconsider my position.
This is so important in English-speaking cultures. We often soften our disagreements to maintain friendly relationships.
Now, let's do a rapid-fire practice session. I'll ask quick questions, Sarah will demonstrate fast responses, and then our listeners can try.
Great idea. Remember, listeners, the goal is to respond quickly, not perfectly.
Ready, Sarah? What's your favorite color?
Blue. I love how calming it is. You?
Green. It reminds me of nature. What did you have for breakfast?
Just coffee and toast, nothing fancy. How about you?
Cereal and fruit. Quick and easy. If you could meet any famous person, who would it be?
Maybe Maya Angelou. Her writing is so inspiring. That's a tough question, though.
Great answer, Sarah. Notice how she kept responses short, but added small details. Blue, I love how calming it is much better than just blue.
And when Mike asked about meeting a famous person, I said, to give myself a second to think, then answered honestly.
Now, listeners, here are 5 quick questions for you to practice with. Answer as fast as you can. What's your favorite season? Do you prefer tea or coffee? What did you do yesterday evening? What's your biggest fear? If you won the lottery, what would you do first?
Take your time with those. Remember, fast responses don't mean you have to talk quickly. They mean you start talking without long pauses.
And if you get stuck on a question, use our thinking time phrases. That's a good question. Let me think. Well, I guess.
Before we move to our final section, let's recap the key strategies we've learned for conversation practice. Use thinking time phrases to stay engaged while organizing thoughts. Ask follow-up questions to keep conversations flowing. Be honest when you don't know something rather than pretending. Ask for clarification when you don't understand. Change subjects naturally when needed. Disagree diplomatically to maintain friendly relationships.
Perfect summary. And remember, the more you practice these conversation patterns, the more automatic they become.
That's right. Soon, you won't even think about using these strategies. They'll just be part of how you communicate in English. As we start to wrap up today's episode, I want to talk about something really important: staying motivated and building daily practice habits.
This is crucial, Sarah. All the techniques we've shared today are useless if people don't actually practice them. But I know from experience that staying consistent with language learning can be challenging.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest mistakes language learners make is trying to do too much too quickly. They get excited after a lesson like this one. They try to practice for 3 hours a day, and then they burn out after a week.
Yes, I call this language learning sprint syndrome. You start running really fast, but then you can't maintain that pace, so you stop completely.
That's a perfect name for it. What we want instead is language learning marathon mentality. Slow, steady, consistent progress over time.
Exactly. So let's give our listeners some realistic, sustainable practice tips. Sarah, what's your number one recommendation for daily practice?
My top tip is start ridiculously small. If you think you can practice for 30 minutes a day, start with 5 minutes. If you think you can do 5 minutes, start with 2 minutes.
That's brilliant advice. It's much easier to increase from 2 minutes to 5 minutes than to decrease from 30 minutes to something manageable.
And here's the psychology behind it. When you successfully complete your small daily goal, your brain gets a little victory celebration. That makes you want to do it again tomorrow.
I love that. It's like training your brain to associate English practice with success rather than struggle.
Exactly. Now, let me share my favorite micro-practice ideas. English practice that takes less than 5 minutes. Mirror conversation while brushing teeth, 2 minutes. Daily commentary while making coffee, 3 minutes. Shadow one song on your way to work, 3 to 4 minutes. Answer 3 random questions out loud, 2 to 3 minutes. Record one voice message to yourself, 1 to 2 minutes.
Those are perfect. And here's what I love about micro practice. You can do it even on your busiest days. No matter how crazy your schedule gets, you can find 2 minutes.
Right. And on days when you have more time and energy, you can always do more. But the minimum commitment is just 2 minutes.
Now, let's talk about dealing with frustration. Sarah, every language learner has days when they feel like they're not improving. What advice do you have for those moments?
This is so important. First, I want everyone to know that feeling frustrated sometimes is completely normal. Even native English speakers have days when they can't find the right words.
So true. Last week, I was trying to explain something to my friend, and I kept saying, that thing, the thing that does the thing. I sounded like a broken record.
See, it happens to everyone. When you feel frustrated with your English progress, try this. Compare yourself to yourself from 3 months ago, not to native speakers.
That's such wise advice. I tell my students to keep a progress journal. Write down 3 things you can say in English now that you couldn't say 3 months ago.
Yes, progress in language learning is often invisible day to day, but very visible month to month. It's like watching a tree grow. You don't see it happening, but suddenly it's much taller.
And here's another important point. Different skills develop at different speeds. Maybe your listening is improving faster than your speaking, or your vocabulary is growing faster than your pronunciation. That's totally normal.
Absolutely. Don't expect everything to improve at the same rate. Celebrate the areas where you're making progress, and be patient with the areas that need more time.
Now, let's talk about creating the right environment for practice. Sarah, what does a good practice space look like?
Great question. You don't need a special room or expensive equipment. You just need a place where you feel comfortable making mistakes and speaking out loud.
For me, my car is actually my favorite practice space. When I'm driving alone, I can talk to myself, sing along with English songs, or practice conversations without anyone judging me.
That's genius. Cars are like private practice studios on wheels. Other good spaces might be your bedroom in the morning, the bathroom, good acoustics, while walking in a park, even in your head if you're in public.
And here's something important. Tell your family or roommates what you're doing. If they know you're practicing English, they'll be supportive instead of thinking you're talking to yourself like a crazy person.
Yes, most people are actually very impressed when they learn they're working on improving your English. They might even want to help you practice.
Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Perfectionism. Sarah, how do we help perfectionists who are afraid to make mistakes?
Oh, this is such a big issue. I want to speak directly to the perfectionists listening. Your desire for excellence is admirable, but it's also your biggest obstacle to fluency.
Yes, perfect English doesn't exist. Even among native speakers, we all have different accents, different vocabulary, different ways of expressing ourselves.
Here's what I tell perfectionist students. Aim for good enough English that communicates your message clearly. Perfection can come later, but communication comes first.
And remember, making mistakes is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're challenging yourself and growing.
Here's a practical exercise for perfectionists. Intentionally make one small mistake a day in your practice, and then continue speaking anyway. Train yourself to keep going even when you're not perfect.
I love that. It's like exposure therapy for perfectionism.
Now, let's talk about motivation on difficult days. Mike, what do you do when you just don't feel like practicing?
Great question. I have a minimum viable practice rule. On days when I don't want to practice Spanish, I just listen to one Spanish song while making breakfast. That's it.
That's perfect. You're maintaining the habit without overwhelming yourself. Often, starting with something tiny leads to doing more than you planned.
Exactly. Sometimes I think I'll just listen to one song, and I end up having a 20-minute practice session because I got motivated.
And here's another motivation tip. Connect your English practice to things you already enjoy. If you love cooking, watch cooking videos in English. If you love sports, follow English sports podcasts.
Yes, learning should feel like play, not work. When you enjoy the content, you forget you're even studying.
Let's talk about tracking progress. Mike, how do you recommend people measure their improvement?
I don't recommend focusing on traditional metrics like number of words learned or grammar rules memorized. Instead, focus on functional progress.
What do you mean by functional progress?
Things like, I had a 5-minute conversation with a stranger, or I understood a movie without subtitles, or I explained a complex idea to someone. Real-world achievements.
That's brilliant. Those are the victories that actually matter in daily life. Who cares if you know 500 vocabulary words if you can't use them in conversation?
Exactly. Here are some functional progress markers to celebrate. Having your first phone conversation in English, making a joke that someone laughed at, explaining directions to a tourist, disagreeing with someone politely, telling a story about your weekend.
Those are real-life victories, and each one proves that you're becoming a functional English communicator, not just a grammar student.
Now, let's give everyone a realistic expectation timeline. Sarah, if someone follows our advice consistently, when might they see improvement?
That's a great question. And of course, it varies for everyone, but in my experience, students who practice daily, even just 10 to 15 minutes, usually notice improvements in confidence, 1 to 2 weeks, thinking speed, 3 to 4 weeks, natural responses, 6 to 8 weeks, fluent conversation, 3 to 6 months.
Those timelines assume consistent practice, though. If you practice once a week, everything takes much longer.
Right. Daily practice creates momentum. Your brain stays in English mode instead of having to restart every few days.
And here's something encouraging. The first improvements you'll notice are usually confidence and comfort, not perfect grammar or pronunciation.
Yes, you might still make the same mistakes, but you'll feel more relaxed making them. That comfort is actually the foundation for all other improvements.
Before we finish, Sarah, what's your most important piece of encouragement for our listeners?
I want everyone to remember that every single fluent English speaker was once exactly where you are now. Every person who seems naturally confident in English once felt nervous about making mistakes.
That's so true. And here's what I want everyone to know. Your current level of English is not your permanent level. Every day you practice, you're literally rewiring your brain to think and communicate in English more effectively.
And please be patient with yourself. Language learning is not a race. Some days you'll feel like you're making huge progress. Other days you'll feel stuck. Both are normal parts of the journey.
The most important thing is to keep showing up. Even on days when practice feels difficult or pointless, you're still building the habit and maintaining momentum.
And remember, speaking English fluently is not about sounding like a native speaker. It's about communicating your thoughts, feelings, and ideas clearly and confidently.
Your accent, your unique way of expressing yourself, your perspective, these things make you interesting to talk to. Don't try to erase them.
Well, everyone, we've covered so much ground in today's episode. Mike, can you believe how much practical advice we've shared?
I know, right? We've given everyone a complete toolkit for thinking faster and speaking smarter in English. I'm excited to see how our listeners put these techniques into practice.
Before we say goodbye, let's do a quick recap of everything we've learned today. This way, everyone can remember the key points and choose which techniques to try first.
Perfect. Let's start from the beginning. Section 1 was about understanding why thinking fast in English feels difficult. We learned that it's normal to struggle with speed when you're translating in your head, feeling afraid of mistakes, or focusing too much on perfect grammar.
Right. And we established that thinking fast doesn't mean talking quickly. It means responding naturally and staying engaged in conversations.
Section 2 focused on building confidence, which is the foundation for everything else. We talked about accepting mistakes as learning opportunities, starting with easy conversations, and preparing answers to common questions.
Yes. Remember those conversation starters we practiced? How are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Having ready answers helps your brain feel prepared for social situations.
Section 3 gave everyone a toolkit of useful phrases for quick responses. These thinking time phrases like, "That's a great question," and "Let me think about that for a moment," help you stay in the conversation while organizing your thoughts.
And we learned phrases for agreeing, disagreeing politely, asking for clarification, and changing subjects. These are like social lubricants that make conversations flow smoothly.
Social lubricants. I love that description. Section 4 introduced shadowing exercises, where you listen to English content and repeat it simultaneously to train your brain and mouth to work together.
Shadowing is such a powerful technique. It helps you develop that English instinct we talked about, the ability to feel what sounds right without thinking about grammar rules.
Section 5 was packed with practical exercises you can do at home. Mirror conversations, daily commentary, question-response training, phone practice, speed thinking challenges, and more.
And we created that realistic weekly practice schedule so people don't feel overwhelmed. Remember, consistency matters more than perfection.
Section 6 let us practice real conversation scenarios together. We demonstrated how to handle new introductions, weekend plans, difficult questions, misunderstandings, topic changes, and diplomatic disagreements.
Those practice conversations showed that good English communication is about staying engaged and being authentic, not about having perfect grammar or pronunciation.
And Section 7 focused on building sustainable daily habits, dealing with frustration, and maintaining motivation over time.
We emphasize starting small. Even 2 minutes of daily practice is better than occasional long study sessions. Micro practice makes progress possible even on busy days.
Now, for our listeners who are feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information, let me give you a simple action plan to get started.
Yes, don't try to do everything at once. Here's what we recommend. Week 1. Choose one thinking time phrase and practice using it in conversations. Also, try mirror conversations for 2 minutes daily.
Week 2, add daily commentary while doing routine activities like cooking or getting dressed.
Week 3, start shadowing one short piece of English content daily, maybe a 1-minute video or audio clip.
Week 4, begin question-response training with 3 to 5 common questions.
Perfect plan. By the end of 4 weeks, you'll have established multiple practice habits and will definitely notice improvements in your confidence and response speed. And remember, these improvements compound over time. The confidence you build in week 1 makes week 2 easier. The habits you develop in week 2 make week 3 more natural.
Now, I want to address something important. There will be days when you feel like you're not making progress or when English feels impossibly difficult.
Oh, yes, we all have those days. Even native speakers sometimes struggle to find the right words or feel tongue-tied in important conversations.
On those difficult days, remember why you started learning English. Maybe it's for career opportunities, travel, connecting with people from other cultures, or personal growth.
And remember that every conversation, every mistake, every moment of practice is building your English brain. Even when it doesn't feel like progress, you're getting stronger.
Here's something I want everyone to remember. You are braver than you think you are. The fact that you're learning English, often as a second, third, or fourth language, is incredible.
Absolutely. Most native English speakers can only speak one language fluently. The fact that you're adding English to your language toolkit makes you remarkable.
Don't let anyone, including yourself, make you feel bad about your accent, your grammar mistakes, or your search for words. You're doing something amazing.
And here's a secret. Most native English speakers are impressed when someone is learning English as an additional language. We admire your dedication and courage.
Before we finish, let's talk about next steps. Sarah, what should people do after listening to this episode?
Great question. First, I recommend listening to this episode again in a few days. You'll catch details you missed the first time, and repetition helps solidify the concepts.
Second, choose just 2 or 3 techniques that excited you most and commit to trying them for 1 week. Don't overwhelm yourself with everything at once.
Third, be patient with yourself. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Every small step forward is worth celebrating.
And fourth, find ways to make practice enjoyable. If you're having fun, you'll naturally want to practice more often.
Speaking of fun, we hope you've enjoyed listening to Mike and I chat about English learning today.
We really have. Sarah, I think our listeners can hear that we genuinely love helping people improve their English skills.
We do. And that brings me to an important point. Find your English learning community, whether it's online forums, local conversation groups, or language exchange partners. Connecting with other learners makes the journey more enjoyable.
Yes, learning alone can be lonely and discouraging, but when you're part of a community, you can share victories, get support during challenges, and practice with people who understand your experience.
And don't forget to celebrate your progress. When you have your first smooth conversation, when you understand a movie without subtitles, when you make someone laugh with a joke in English, those are major achievements.
Absolutely. Keep a record of these victories. On difficult days, you can look back and remember how far you've come.
Now, as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with this thought. Fluent English speakers aren't perfect English speakers. They're confident English speakers who keep communicating even when they make mistakes.
That's beautiful, Sarah. Your goal isn't perfection, it's communication. Focus on connecting with people, sharing your ideas, and expressing your personality through English.
And remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker was once nervous about making mistakes. You're exactly where you need to be in your English journey.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Beginner English, the podcast. We hope you found today's episode helpful and inspiring.
We'd love to hear about your progress. If you try any of the techniques we discussed today, let us know how they work for you.
Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, you've got this. Your English skills are improving every day, even when it doesn't feel like it.
Until next time, keep speaking, keep practicing, and keep believing in yourself. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, and happy English learning.